Alright, well, welcome back to the channel. So today, I got the WD45 cleaner in here. And if you saw the last video, you saw that I was trying to use the D14 on the dump trailer. And it didn't quite work out the way I thought it was going to. So the D14 ends up needing a water pump now. So I didn't actually, it did dump the dump trailer, but we never saw if it would dump it when it was full. So now I'm going to try it on this WD-45. But first off, I got to put a hydraulic line on this tractor. This one never actually had an auxiliary port. And then I think what my plan is I'm just going to take the dipstick that's on that side and put a T in it, so that way I can run a return line in. So it's just going to have a gravity return. I think that's my plan. But yeah, we'll see how that works. But first off, I already have the lid loose. I'm going to take the lid off, pull. Hopefully I can just yank the bolts out, just lift it up enough to slide that under and not actually have to take the battery out of it. I'll see if that works. But yeah, let's see if that does. Let's see what we do. I'm going to say that the part that's not painted, because this was on our tractor actually painted, goes under that battery box, but I'm going to say that part will be good. Look at it. The other side. Get her wrapped around where she needs to be. That's looking pretty good. So, I'll grab it so you can see this. So I got her fed around. She's got to plug into that plug right there. Just had to feed her around under the battery box. And it looks like I'm going to have to pop this little plug off, because that is in the way of where I need to bolt to, and that would have been like your lights to an original Allis implement, which is kind of neat. You just don't use it anymore, but still kind of neat. Yeah, so let's get that popped off and get that bolted on. Slide up. All the bolts are just painted and rusty and old enough. They're sticking in the socket. That out of the way. personally. I don't know if this one's going to be quite long enough. Might have to find a different bolt. But to me, I don't know if you can see that paint mark. That's how that was on this bracket. So let's thread this one in a little ways. That wasn't going in right. I thought I had it started. Like that. The bolts, the threads didn't feel overly great, and they don't look overly great, so new grade 8 bolt with a little bit of cutting oil on her, just to help her so she wants to cut her way in easier. So now I need to just get her buttoned up here. Get that line down around it how I want, and plumb her in and get that battery box rebolted down in. That doesn't seem like it wants to turn now. Why is that one so much bigger? So there's a step I forgot. I forgot you needed that little adapter piece. So as I was tightening up or trying to get this to move, I'm like, for starters, there's no way it's going to reach. And for number 2, that is not the same thread size as that. But I forgot that you needed that little adapter piece. That'll thread in there and seal up. So I just got to put a little, well, actually I'm going to take it over to the wire wheel, clean it up a hair on the threads for the grease, put a little Teflon tape in, screw this in, then thread that in, and then that line is actually plumbed in. Glad I found that. And I'll bet you can't ever guess where I found it. It was on the bench in the bucket of parts. Never fails. Alright, so the line's all installed, all tightened, the battery box is all done. It runs around under the battery box and bolted in right there. And I was able to just re-bolt that in. I mean, I'll never use it, but I hate to take that little plug off the tractor just because it is original. So I did leave that on. But next, I'm going to see if I can get, because everything I've read is you just pull your dipstick, you know, unthread it from in the cast housing down there, and then that'll give you a return. So we're just finishing up. You can see the nice tower of stuff I got going on there. It's an elbow and then a T. And I just put the original dipstick back on top so that way it could have a little bit of like a vent spot. And then once Dad grabs that, put the little Teflon tape. We had to use a reducer from 3/4 down to half for the hose. The hose is just going to run along right here and then just hang right in that area. And all it is just a return, so it ain't a great hose, but it was actually on a parts tractor I had sitting right out back here. So as long as the hose is good, we're all set. Ain't like it's ever going to be under pressure by any means. Tire started?
Yep.
Perfect. Your hands are going to be black just like mine now.
You have a wrench this size or just these?
I did. Somewhere.
That's pretty good.
And then, honestly, I think that can just lay right across just like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to hurt anything. We'll just plug them in. Next up, we just got to get a drop down and drawbar put back in this. Alright, so we got it all plumbed together now. As you can tell, we're down here going to load it for the first time. This is what I got going here. I got an elbow coming out of the housing to a T. I just put the dipstick back on just for ease of being able to fill and ventilation. So that way it's not under pressure. The return line to the dump trailer. And then the actual pressure line going back there. And as you can see, just plugged in a drawbar. We bolt that together because we've actually ended up bending that open from overloading and bouncing it too hard. So now we use a 3/4 inch grade 8 bolt and bolt her together. And it seems to be working. I had to steal the drop down off my WD. That's the only one that wasn't welded that we're not using at this point. And I really didn't want a welded one on there, if you know what I mean. I left all this plate. It's got locked nuts on it, but I kind of wanted it all loose. That way it wasn't putting odd pressure in one spot. Because that's how they are when you're using them, is they're kind of loose. So that's like that. You can see we're loading all this up. This is what Dad dug out the other day in that video with the Deuce and excavator. It's not supposed to be on the hood. I don't know what it is, and I've read forums with the 3E series. When you're lifting the loader and you try to dump the bucket, sometimes the valves go in before they go out for the loader, for the bucket. Sometimes it rolls back before it'll dump, and I don't understand why. Yeah. That went up like nothing. Not much finesse. I'll learn the lever better, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be an easy tractor to finesse to get to be easy with the hydraulics. That John Deere 3020 is very easy because it's got just a nice easy lever, and the spool works very well that way. But like we talked about in other videos, that tractor needs work, and we just don't want to work on it right now. That's going to be a winter project to probably just have the injection pump rebuilt is my best guess. Yeah, I would say so. Well, let's go see if she'll dump.
Yeah, it does. Not bad. I'm sure he wishes he had power steering, but it works.